Today, we're looking at a red ink by KWZ, their Iron Gall Red number 3. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. I get inks, test them, and share the results with you. There's timestamps down below so that if you are only interested in certain parts, you can skip around, but if you've got the time, please check out the entire video. Also, you can follow me over on Instagram, and if you like fountain pen ink reviews, I would invite you to subscribe. To make sure I have a range of experience with this ink, I do the writing samples. I then put the ink into this Viscosity Van Gogh with a medium nib. I wrote with it for a day and used it to take my notes for this video. This first writing sample is done on a standardized set of paper of Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia. There are additional writing samples later in the video. Now, let's look at the writing sample. I picked this ink up in sample form, so it came in a vial like this. And to keep my writing samples consistent, I use a Jinhao 159 with a Goulet 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a Goulet medium, and a Jinhao X750 with a Goulet extra fine. Let's take a look at the Clairfontaine. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. Extra fine is the same tone as the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 12 seconds to dry. Medium is just a little bit lighter than the extra fine in the stub. With no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 7 seconds to dry. Can't explain that. Scrubby for both show no color variation, and we didn't get it. And looking at it, I got a feeling I mixed them up, and that the top is the medium, and the bottom is the extra fine. Yes. Yep. So that's the medium on top, that's the fine or extra fine on the bottom. I'll correct myself through the rest of this. Tomoe River. No bleeding, normal Tomoe River ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 12 seconds to dry. The medium is the same tone as the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 20 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show no color variation, and we did not get any in the writing. And Rhodia. It's not bleed, I'm just sloppy sometimes. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine, down here, is lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 8 seconds to dry. The medium is the same tone as the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 14 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both show us no color variation, and we didn't get it in the writing. I agree with Vita that I've learned a lot by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. I put a line of ink down and immediately put it into water for 10 to 15 seconds. And what we see is a very light gray on the bottom. Now it moves up and we quickly get this brown tone, and it moves up, and what we get at the top is that red ink that is this red, or the red dye. The one on the right I let dry for 10 minutes before I dunk it into water. And the gray at the bottom is a bit darker and more there. The brown looks about the same but has not traveled as far because the red is a bit more pronounced and really there. This one I let dry for 24 hours before I dunk it into water. And that line across the bottom, much darker, much more there. The brown pushes its way up. That red at the top, very pronounced in there. It's really starting to create some separation or not as much overlap of these tones. This one I let dry for 72 hours before I dunk it into water. Again, that line on the bottom, very dark and very there. It's not traveling as far up. But what's really interesting in this one is as it moves up, when the brown is going away, before we get to the red, we see an orange tone that seems to show up for the first time. Very interesting. Resistance tests are done to see how well this ink can be expected to perform on the page, and more importantly, how hard it might be to clean from your pen. I let the smear dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, there's an extreme amount of spread that does occur with this. It went from what is about a medium to a broad. There is a little bit of blurring and feathering that occurs, but I can easily read everything that's there, which would make me feel safe using it in a note-taking situation. Water is completely reactivating and lifting this off the page. You start to see the white of the paper coming through. Now, water's all that it took to get it out of my pen. It is leaving a lot behind on the paper because the ink is bonding with the paper itself. Pen flush does everything that water does and nothing more. I didn't need it to get it out of my pen. And things I didn't need to clean my pen, 1/3 bleach solution, which completely removes it from the paper. As far as viscosity or flow, for the inks I've tested, I've found an average viscosity of 2.5, with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. KWZ's Iron Gall Red 3 has a viscosity of 2.31, making it normal. To find my average dry times, I use my writing samples done on Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper. I average those. Now, for the inks I've tested, I've found an average dry time of 17 seconds, with the realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. KWZ's Iron Gall Red 3 has an average dry time of 12 seconds, making it a fast-drying ink. Instead of finding inks that look like KWZ's Iron Gall Red 3, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. I went for a nice blue-black. I wanted an ink named blue-black, and I chose Noodler's blue-black. Blue-black. The second writing sample is done on Franklin-Christoph paper. During the great writing sample paper shortage, I only had Franklin-Christoph to do additional writing samples with while I was waiting on more books to show up. The Franklin-Christoph paper has no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 6 seconds to dry. The medium is the same tone as the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 9 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation, and we didn't get it, and that's all that there is for writing samples. So what do I think of KWZ's Iron Gall Red number 3? It is a very dark red. It has an ability on a very wet pen to get so on the page that given a little bit of time to age, it looks like a black ink. Now I would prefer this to keep some of its redness because it's red with a slight magenta lean as it goes down, but it really does age on the paper. What nib and pen is going to give the best writing experience with this ink? The only way to really get that red to come through and really stay on a page is going to be using a drier pen, like a dry broad or a dry stub. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and thanks for watching.